Hello everyone. I'm just going to go over Plains of Abraham. We've made some improvements to the game and I just want to share those with you. And first things first is that when you're starting, usually when you start the game, such as you pull the first card like this, says British send reinforcements, General Wolfe and many ships depart New York City to attack Quebec City and try and end this long war. All British troops would advance. So you'd move them all up like that. I have an alternate start where they're eventually trying to get to the second spot, which is here in yellow, for the people that go up the steep cliff. And what that looks like is, rather than them just going up normally, the British, when they went up this cliff, a lot of the generals didn't think it was a great idea. It was a very steep cliff, and there was just a small little goat trail for him to go up. And they also went up in the middle of the night. Wolfe wanted to have all his troops on the Plains of Abraham by the morning. So they did it at night, and to sort of incorporate some of the issues or the problems that they had, rather than automatically going up. So in this card, all British forces move up. You'd move up Beauport, so essentially you'd be having two maps going at the same time. This is kind of an alternate starter map. But for the British, before they move, you got to roll a dice. And if you roll a 6, you're going to stay at the start. If you roll a 5, nobody moves. 2, 3, and 4, they move one. And a 1, you're going to go right to the second icon, which would put you onto the second spot on the map. So you'd have these maps side by side as you're playing. So if you're to pull this card, what it would look like is this. You'll roll for Townsend. So I roll for Townsend, I roll a 3, he would move. I roll for Moncton. Moncton rolls a 2, he would move. I roll for Wolfe, he rolls a 1, he goes right to the second icon. So Wolfe, as I said, you'd be having it side by side. He'd be on that second icon. You pull the next card. I'm just going to take this off for a sec, just because I have room for one camera. If you're to pull another card where, say, Moncton and Townsend advance, you would roll the dice for them. And we roll a 4. So Townsend would be at the second icon. He's made it to the top without having any issues or any problems. Moncton rolls, he rolls a 2, and he gets to the second one without any issues. So in this case, Wolfe got up quite quickly. So if you roll a 1, you go immediately to that second icon. You roll a 2, 3, or a 4, you just go up once as usual. If you roll a 5, nobody moves. If you roll a 6, you'd go back to the start. So if these were here, for an example, and I rolled a 6 for Townsend, normally he would go up to the second one, he'd go back to the start, and he'd have to start all over again. And that's just to incorporate some of the issues that the British would have had going up in the middle of the night, up that steep cliff on a small little goat trail. So that is the first change to the game. Again, it's an alternate start, and it's very optional. If you want to stick to this, you can. And just have them move up, you may. The second improvement is coming when you draw card number 4. So when you draw card number 4, you would take away the defenses at Beauport. Beauport is now an F4, and Quebec would be an F2. So if the British were to be here, in order for them to get in, they'd have to roll a 3, 4, 5, 6. If they roll a 2, the French would have held them back, and you never got to siege or take over Quebec. The second option is this. When you turn over this card from Montcalm, you can distribute the 6 defense points how you like. So if you want to put 4 at Quebec, you can. If you want to put 2 at Beauport, so you have 4 and 2 adds up to 6, you could do it that way. Or you could go with the original. Or if you want, you can make them both F3s. So you can make Quebec a 3 and Beauport a 3. So just a different way for you to use a little bit of strategy and maybe you don't like the F4, the F2. So it's one way in which you can just play the game a little bit differently. If you want to try and put more defenses on Quebec and not so much of Beauport, you can try that. The third thing is the actual Battle of Beauport. So if this is an F4, when they get here, rather than rolling a dice, rolling a 5 or a 6, that would hold them. That would get them by. A roll of 1 to 4 would stop them. So that acts as a bit of a fort. And in real life, the British did try and land at Beauport, and Montcalm anticipated that. It was the flat piece of land. It was probably the easiest access on the way to Quebec City. So Montcalm knew the British were coming, and he set up all sorts of defenses. And the British did land early. When they got to the North Channel, they were just annihilated by the French at Beauport. So that's why Wolfe actually sailed downstream and tried to go up this cliff, because they had no success at all at Beauport. Sort of to incorporate that, rather than doing the F4, you can actually work out a battle. So you have, I'm just going to represent them by dice. You have the French here and the English here, and you can have a dice battle. And the British, when they roll, they hit on 1. And if they hit, they would take 1 of the French dice away for the next time. When the French roll, they hit on a 1 or a 2, and they would take away a dice from the British. So just to reenact it, the fighting would be simultaneous. It would look something like this. If the British were to fire first, hopefully you can see this. The British have 1, so that is 1 hit. So they would have 1 hit. Let's put them back down. And the French would fire on the British. So we're actually reenacting a battle at Beauport. And they have no hits. They don't have any hits. So the French would lose a dice because of the 1. We're now to 5 on 5. And we'll roll for the French this time on the British. And they have 1, and that is all they're going to get. They're only going to get 1 hit. The British will retaliate on the second round, and they get another 1. So the British again get another hit. So French have already lost 1 dice. The French will lose another die, and the English will lose a die. Go down third round of fighting. English are firing first. They're trying to get by Beauport. Again, they get 1 more. So the British get a hit. French need to roll a 1 or a 2 for a hit. Oh, and they got lucky. They got 3. 1, 2, 3. So the French making a good comeback here at Beauport. They will take out 3 of the British dice. The British will take out 1 of the French dice. So the French now holding the upper hand. And there's another 1. So they're going to take out another 1 of the British dice. British going to fight back. They're not going to get anything. So the British take another 1. This could be trouble. Spell the end of the British. And yes, we have a 2. And the British would try. They don't get it. So the French hold back the British at Beauport. So rather than just advancing like this, you could play it out as a little battle on the Battle of Beauport map and see how it goes. If the French lose, the British stay where they are. If the British win the battle, they would advance past that. Now, you can do it as many times as you want. Maybe you just want to do it the 1 time, and then from there on, you go to the F4, whatever you want. But we just thought it'd incorporate a little bit more of a fun war type game into the Plains of Abraham. The next thing is, while the British are advancing, let's say the British are here, here, and here, you can send out your militia. So you're going to have 5 militia points that you could use. So say you use 2 of them to maybe stop Wolf in his tracks here. So you can put that down here. So that would be an F2 at that particular spot. Maybe you want to use the other 3, an F3 here, so that when the British get to this point and Wolf advances, it's not a free advance. He would have to roll the dice, and he'd have to roll a 3, 4, 5, and 6 to get by. So if I was to roll, and then Wolf advancing, I roll the 1, he would not advance. The French would hold him off. So you can send out militia points to a maximum of 3 on the chart and try and stop them coming. So another strategy tactic that you can incorporate into the game to give you a little bit more choice and a little bit more pushback and fight as you defend Quebec City against the British. So that is the militia, and you have 5 militia points. Once they're used up, they're done. Once the British get by, if they were to roll a 3 here, the militia are defeated and you take them off the board. You don't get them back. The last thing, that bit of an improvement to the game, I think it makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit more realistic, is when you draw this card, First Nations Militia Skirmish, Montcalm, which is you, must make a decision. Will you send in your militia and First Nations to surprise attack the British, or play it safe? If you do decide to send in your militia, you go to the skirmish chart. If you do not, you move any British regiment back 1. So if we were sitting like this, if you wanted to play it safe, you could say, you know what, I don't want to send in my militia. I'm just going to play it safe and move the British back 1. If you decide to send in the militia, you would go to the First Nations militia skirmish chart. And first thing you're going to do, you can see you move all the British back. These are some of the effects of the battle if you catch the British off guard. Move them all back 1, move 2 regiments back, move 1 regiment back 1 space. No effect, you will lose a resource. Advance the British regiment. The French lose 1 of each resource. So there's different effects on each side. First thing you're going to do if you attack is you're going to roll to see if you catch the British unorganized or off guard. So you would roll the dice. In this case, if I decided to send in the militia, I roll a 4. In this case, it's bad news. The British get organized. They see you coming and they're ready to defend the attack. So what you would then do is roll 6 D6s, and the British are going to hit on rolls of 1. The French will hit on rolls of 1. The British will roll on 1 and 2, and you'll see how many hits that they get. So if we roll for the British first, we roll 6 dice, and we're going to roll for the British. The British are going to hit on 1 and 2 because they're ready for the French and the militia, and they get 2 hits. We will roll for the French. French are going to hit on 1, and they get 2 hits. So the hits are equal. So what you do is you go to the chart. If the hits are equal, there's no effect, and you end up gaining 1 resource. So that's how that works. If you can catch them off guard, you'll have a much better chance of moving them back. Let's just do this one more time, and let's say we rolled a 3. We catch the British off guard. So if you catch the British off guard, again, you roll 6 D6. This time, the French, when you catch the British off guard, you hit on 1, 2, and 3. The British will only hit on 1 when they're caught off guard. So if we try this, we roll 6 D6, and we get 1 hit. Terrible roll for the French. They only get 1 hit. The British roll their 6 D6s. They hit on a 1, they get 1 hit. So it is equal. So when it's equal hits, there's no effect, and I would end up losing 1 resource. So a surprise attack that didn't turn out very well. But again, just a little different element to the game, add a little bit more of gameplay, some war play into this war game, and also add some choices. So I'm hoping you've liked these improvements that I put in. They've all been added to the game, and if you'd like to download Plains of Abraham, Siege of Quebec, you can grab it at gitchplay.wordpress.com, and play has 2 A's. If you like the improvements to the game, I think they're pretty neat. For me, I find it a little bit more fun, a little bit more realistic, bringing in some of the things that happened in the history in 1759. Give the video a like. If you have any ideas for how to improve the game, for sure, leave them in the comments. I would love to read them. That is a game update and game improvement for Plains of Abraham, Siege of Quebec City, 1759. It's a siege war game. Bye for now.